Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Jan Michael here. Yorgos Lanthimos has created some fascinating worlds. Even when they are set in contemporary times, you could tell that the full rules of our world are not at play here. Everybody acts a little odd. The conversations hint at something deeper. And it feels like everybody who is speaking is hiding something. Bugonia follows this trend by introducing us to two characters who are constantly trying to one-up one another throughout the entire runtime. Does Bugonia manage to convince us that this is another fantastic hit for Yorgos? Or are the arguments as diluted as Jessie Plemons' character seems to be? Let's dive on in and find out.
Good morning, Corey.
Good morning, Michelle.
I believe every company should strive to form a diverse table, to empower people of different skills and every time, what is it?
Skills and identities.
To foster a new generation of, okay, let's go again.
Hands down, the best thing Bugonia has going for it is its performances. Jessie Plemons and Emma Stone do a fantastic job of keeping you on your toes with their back and forth banter. These two are essentially master manipulators, Jessie being a conspiracy-obsessed nut, which, if you've ever encountered one in real life, you'll know convincing them of anything other than their delusions is like talking to a wall. And Emma is a CEO, which, come on, haven't you ever been able to trust one of those? For those of you who don't know, the story here follows Teddy, played by Jessie Plemons, a theory-obsessed beekeeper who is convinced that Emma Stone's character, a CEO pharmaceutical named Michelle, is an alien who is going to enslave all of humanity. Teddy and his cousin Dawn kidnap Michelle in a bid to make her confess to this and in turn save the world. Hearing that, you may think this would be a simple matter of thinking that Teddy is crazy and that Michelle is just being held by a lunatic, and she's gonna need to say whatever she can to get out of her predicament before Teddy goes off the rails completely. But the way each of these characters evolve and the way the film presents them, there are various moments the movie manages to convince you of their individual goals. You start to second guess yourself. Is Michelle actually an alien? Does Teddy have some ulterior motive? Are both of them guilty of something? Without the brilliant performances on display, these questions will either have fallen apart or not have been convincing enough. So bravo to each of them for being able to pull it off. Emma Stone in particular actually incredibly impressed me with the subtlety she gives to her character. There are times where she'll do something that just seems weird. And you start to think to yourself, well, is that because this world is just so odd that the characters just seem off at points? Or is there something hiding beneath the surface? That is the brilliance of the performances. Without these little kind of nuances, you would go in pretty much knowing exactly what to expect, but the film does manage to convince you of each of their motives until you're left thinking, well, what is the truth behind everything? I'm actually incredibly glad because at the beginning, I thought we may be getting Emma Stone fatigue. I mean, she's been front and center at the Academy Awards for so many years now that I thought for sure the Oscars weren't going to give her another nomination. But boy, was I wrong. She is so fantastic here, doing something completely different from her previous roles. So I'm really glad I was wrong in that aspect. So you've got the great characters and performances, but it wouldn't mean much if they didn't have anything interesting to say. Well, worry not, because the second thing Bugonia does so well is have a great script. One that keeps you on the edge of your seat with the back and forth between its two leads. Not only that, but there are moments of pure shock that will leave you surprised and in some ways kind of sad due to the series of events that plays out. It's also very funny at points. Now, this is not laugh out loud funny like in Poor Things, but there is a underlying theme of comedy that permeates all of the really dark moments in the film, because there are some scenes here that are truly disturbing and are gonna make you squirm. But every one of them does have some comedic elements to it. Again, it's subtle, so if you're not paying attention, or maybe you're not used to the dark comedy formula, they may get lost on you or go completely over your head. But for someone like me that absolutely loves dark comedies, it's hard not to smile or laugh even when things are getting increasingly dark. And so for that, I truly do applaud what they managed to do with some of the darker elements, keeping it lighthearted enough that you're still following along with it. However, there is one aspect of the script that felt underbaked, which was in the police officer character, Casey, who is revealed to have been Teddy's babysitter when they were both younger. This revelation, if you even want to call it that, does nothing for the story. It's not used in any clever ways, it doesn't play a part in any grand scheme, and the conclusion is so obvious that it felt more like padding to get the runtime where they wanted it to be. Bottom line, it was a waste of time, and definitely the dullest part of the film. As I understand it, this movie is based off another film called Save the Green Planet, which also has a cop and a partner character in it. I don't know if Yorgos felt obligated to include this element to his version of the film, but as they even wrote out the partner character for this version, I think he could have easily found a way to write out the cop as well, or at least give him something more interesting to do. Jerskin Hendricks is back after previously collaborating with Yorgos on his films Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness. To me, Poor Things is still his best score, but this one I would say is another solid piece, if not for the fact that it is completely overbearing in the film itself, to the point that I was actually taken out of the scenes because of how loud the score got at some points. I mean, maybe that was the point, but there are moments when the characters are just having a conversation. And sure, the conversation is intense, but Jerskin's score continues to ratchet up as if it's meant to be played during an action scene. It was distracting, and I ultimately didn't care much for it due to its intrusive nature. The one area that I did think it was appropriate was in the ending scenes of the film, where there is an action type element to what is occurring, and it made sense to go that extreme during that time. Now, please don't take that to mean that I hated the score. On its own, outside of the context of the film, it is completely serviceable. But when combined with the movie, it just needed to be toned down, in my opinion. So how likely is it that Bugonia is going to go home with Best Picture? Not very. This is just not as strong a film as Poor Things. That movie was a juggernaut. It had a ton of nominations, not just above the line, but below as well. You could tell that the Academy really took to it because it was so many elements that made that film what it was. It definitely rised above what its central concept was. Here, you have a very solid film, but you know what you're in for from the moment you walk into the theater. Yes, it's going to have its surprises, but this doesn't elevate itself beyond that base premise. And that's completely fine. This is still a very enjoyable movie, one that I'm definitely going to be sharing with others because I want to see what their reaction to the revelations are. Yorgos has become one of my favorite directors working today, and I cannot wait to see what he does next and how twisted the experience is going to be. Making an excellent argument, I give Bugonia a 4 out of 5, with a recommendation to see it. If you've been a fan of Yorgos' previous works, you're also going to be a fan of this one. If not, I don't know if this will be the one to convert you into a fan, but it's not as over the top as his previous outing, so maybe this is the one that's going to finally make you see what the buzz is all about.
I know who you are. I know what you are.
I know you too, Teddy.
It's fine. It's cool.
And ladies and gentlemen of the internet, that is it for me. That is one review of 10 done. We've got a long road ahead. So come back tomorrow, guys. There's still plenty of content on the way. Subscribe if you haven't. And until that next video, stay safe out there and have a good one.